Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Gareth Ellis-Unwin. I'm the head of film at ScreenSkills, the organisation formerly known as Creative Skill Set. So about 3 months ago, we started to work on quite a significant rebrand. It recognised a couple of key changes in terms of the organisation. One was the fact that we'd merged with the Indie Training Fund, which was a training provider in the factual landscape, the non-scripted landscape. And also there was a couple of elements of the former Creative Skill Set that was falling away. So our activity in publishing, our activity in fashion, these were, for at least the next 4 or 5 years, going to drop away in terms of our key activity. So we are basically the national agency for training for the screen skills sector outside of the world of education. We have 3 key sort of strategic areas. One is a sense of what the industry's needs, what it's looking for, trying to move to a more professional approach with regard to skills forecasting, so moving away from the anecdotal nature of picking up a phone, hearing from a line producer that we're missing roto artists or we're missing supervision or something like that, and trying to move towards some regularity with how the industry is polled. We have just received the first of our quarterly barometer forecasting exercises, and that will go public at the end of November. So that will be the first flush of this info as we're starting to poll industry. We do a lot of upwards lobbying with regards government, with regards other organisations, trying to make sure that we keep the notion of skills and training on the national agenda. The UK, obviously, it benefits from being a destination of choice for a lot of filmmaking and a lot of TV production, a lot of production, but one of the reasons people come here is for the crews. And if we don't continue to bring in that next generation and upskill those that are already working in the industry, we could fall from grace in terms of that international perspective. So we do a lot of work around policy, a lot of work around government. We do a lot of outreach. So we have a careers team. At the moment, they're averaging about half a dozen events a month. Those events can be everything from an open doors session where we work with an employer where they literally open their doors to teachers, parents, guardians, carers, and allow people in to just see what it is they do. We run boot camps, which are a work readiness activity. And for the first time this year, what we've started to do is actually align those 2 activities. So previously, we used to do a bunch of open doors across the UK and a bunch of boot camps across the UK, whereas now we go into a city, we do an open doors, and 2 weeks later, we signpost those that have attended the open doors to a boot camp. The idea being that we light a fire during the course of that boot camp activity. We work with the BFI Academy, but probably our best known piece of work is around Trainee Finder. So Trainee Finder is a scheme by which we basically take on a new entrant's first year of work. So there's an application process. We have about 2,500 applicants a year. That gets whittled down to about 500 that come in for interview. And next year, in recognition of the boom period that we're in, we're actually going to have a cohort of 150 in film and 80 in TV. And we are looking at specifically bringing in some animation trainees as well. The way that Trainee Finder works is that we work alongside the production, we work hand in hand with the production managers, line producers, we get a sense of what trainees they're looking for, we place those trainees, and whilst they're on placement, there's a co-share on the salary. So the benefit to the production is that you are getting that body paid for 50% by ScreenSkills, and that there is a management and pastoral care that sits around that person. So it's not just that we throw them into the work and then expect them to excel. We put a lot of care in around that sort of pastoral element. So there is a manager that's on hand, there's a training plan that's devised, and it's done with a lot of consultation, and particularly at the point of exit, we see if there's any good learnings from that particular experience. This year we've got about 80 trainees and next year we grow to 150. We then work with people that are already in career. So we do a lot of work around CPD, continuous professional development. We have just commissioned £600,000 worth of training in a variety of different areas, everything from physical production to post-production to exhibition to sales to distribution. We're definitely trying to make sure that we are attending to all of the sectors So when I talk as the head of film, animation is under my remit, so very much embedded in the work that I do. And in terms of my own personal history, I mean, I know your world to a certain extent. I was the first AD on Susie Templeton's Peter and the Wolf, which won the Oscar in 2006. And then had the great pleasure of shooting 24 animated shorts and a feature in Łódź in Poland over 2.5 years, a number of years ago. So I sort of know a bit about animation. And then other things that we are active with currently, so we're establishing a number of regional hubs. We've just identified Leeds as our first centre of excellence. The idea is that's a training environment that looks at some of those below the line grades that maybe hasn't had the same level of attention. So the more manual grades, the more technical grades, the craft grades. And I'm pleased to say we made our decision 2 weeks before Channel 4 made theirs, so I think we got to jump on things there. We are working on rolling out a new mentoring offering. We have been working with mentoring a lot through third parties, so Guiding Lights is supported by us, Inside Pictures is supported by us, and what we're hoping to do is to find and work with partner organisations so that we can create this really solid network of mentoring, moving away from typically the mentor is someone who's late stage career, desperate to give a bit of time back, which is really, really wonderful. I can sit and listen to Roger Deakins talk all day, but to a young camera trainee who isn't likely to shoot on film, you know, you have to question what the relevance is there. So we're trying to make sure that our mentoring and mentee pairs are more closely aligned. There's not as much of a gap between them. And bursaries. Currently, we do offer a number of craft and tech bursaries for those that are already in career. If there is some training that you want to go after, if there's a piece of kit that you want to buy, if there is an opportunity where you may not have, or your employees may not have the financial wherewithal to attend, you can apply to ScreenSkills for a bursary. Currently it's capped at £800 per instance. We've got a whole new offering around that that's going to be rolling out before the end of the year. As I mentioned, we've undergone a rebrand, new name, new website. The website's had a massive overhaul. We've gone from, I think, what was 383 specific job pages in a very sort of dense careers section to now having it structured more by department and where in the value chain that work is done. And in fact, I see Phil in the audience, and he helped us with some of the VFX analysis. What we're trying to do is to build a talent delivery pipeline that reaches back as far as school, on or around 13, 14, just at the point at which decisions are being made about which GCSEs, which qualifications to go for. We try and offer support, whether it be that that individual then wants to look towards apprenticeships, and we know how knotty that particular situation is, and I think it's going to come up in the round table afterwards. But we're also looking at other non-vocational, other vocational training, and working with our partners in higher and further education to try and improve that, as the speaker just before said, that interconnectivity between industry and the learning environment. I mentioned open doors and boot camps. The idea is that each of these are sort of nursery slopes that build the individual up to a point where they may consider trainee finder. The CPD and skills forecasting I've touched on previously. So what are we doing now? The now of it. We've just finished a big mapping of the current CPD provision, HE provision and FE provision in the UK. We held our first CPD Congress, so that was bringing all of the training providers, all 85 of them, in the UK together for the first time under one roof, and just put them to the test of checking to see how they were delivering their training. Really, really good event up in Salford in July. Just commissioned 600 grand's worth of CPD and launched a crossover pilot for GRIPS, bringing people in from ex-military. As I mentioned, Yorkshire has been identified as our first centre of excellence, and just some of the stats that are there gives you a sense of just how active our careers team is that they're out there. I was preparing a board report, and I think they've worked out they will have had an interaction with about 24,500 people in the last 6 months, which is quite a sort of phenomenal run rate. The mentoring I've touched on already. The bursary support, we will have a pot of about £500,000 a year to disperse. The idea is that we're going to make that available at a number of different levels. The idea being that the lowest level, which is the smallest amount, around 500 quid, is the easiest to access. So really trying to take the brakes off how people go after that money. And then each of the subsequent 3 stages go up to, I think it's up to £3,000 to £5,000, and then on select opportunities up to sort of 10, 15,000 to help develop particular individuals. We've launched our Giving Back program, so that's where we are petitioning industry to make work experience opportunities available, work shadowing opportunities available, and to attend our events in terms of meeting that new intake. I'm going to skip into just some of the highlights of things that are coming up in the near future. So as I mentioned, we've got this employers' annual review that will be made available in November, December of this year. 2 forecasting roadshows coming up, one's in Newcastle, one's in London. We continue all of the careers outreach work that we're doing. And then something that's very important to us is, as we know, diversity and inclusion is a massive driver for us at the moment. And we still battle across all of our sectors with assumptions that it's a closed network. If you don't know anyone, you can't get in. You can't be what you can't see. So trying to shift the needle with that. And we've actually got a cinema campaign that's going into a number of the big circuits, February, March of next year, where we've identified a few of our trainees, of which one will come from animation or VFX, and trying to set that little story up as an opportunity, build that belief that people could join our industry. To give you a sense of scale, I've been mandated to try and find, train, recruit or bring into the industry 10,000 people in the next 4.5 years. That's what's been projected as the need in terms of just how busy the production boom is at the moment. Working hard on the animation sector at the moment. I've been working with, I believe Kate O'Connor was here for the first panel this morning, Animation UK. We're looking at reforming the Skills Council that used to exist at Skillset. It's gone a little dormant in the last sort of 12 months, much to our embarrassment, but the idea is to reinvigorate that and to get that back up on its feet. I mentioned that we are expanding our trainee finder cohort to 150, and then we're looking at animation trainees above and beyond that number as well. And then next year, another big piece is that we'll identify the second centre of excellence, and that will definitely be outside and away from London. We're very, very keen to make sure that we are not only being seen to be active, but really active in the nations and regions. So that was the sort of speed dating version of who we are and what we do. But yeah, check out the new website. It's very pink, very, very active, lots to do on there. Thank you for your time.